So to start, I hope you all enjoyed the Canadian accent, because we have a very academical accent. Hopefully what we've just heard and what we've just discussed is going to lead into some actionable tips they can take away from our talk, and we're going to basically get into discussing this idea of search everywhere. So as Mike said, I work at Reprise, I'm an SEO content lead, and essentially my role is to take the sexy stuff that happens with content and turn that into actionable insights and results on search. And that's what we're talking about here, is this idea of search everywhere and why users are actually demanding that we take our content further than ever. Basics first, I think it's key that we have a good idea of what search everywhere actually is. It's a new concept. It's not just Google, which we're going to get into. So let's look at what basics of search everywhere are. Essentially, it's the leveraging of different social platforms, search engines, and essentially anything in the digital space, whether that's forums like Reddit, Discord, whatever it is. And it's about how we can bring all those platforms together to collaborate and create a search strategy. In your businesses, it's likely that you're probably doing this in isolation within certain functions, but it's about how we can actually tie those in so that they're working together to get you guys more bang for your buck from your content. It's taking an integrated approach to search within a wider marketing strategy as well. So what I mean by this is, traditionally, SEOs would have been over there in the corner with the web devs, sort of hanging around with the nerds, if you like, and we'd have had the brand and the creative people all at the front, all taking all the clamour. I think the pandemic has really accelerated this idea that search is, for want of a better phrase, really fucking important to our marketing strategies. And brands started to see actionable results on the back of getting behind search at the pandemic, and that means it's really important post-pandemic as well. And as I said at the beginning, search can't just mean Google anymore. It's this idea that if I said to you, I'm going to Google something, you'd straight away have this idea in your head that I mean I'm going to search for something. And if I said I'm going to search something, the first platform you'll think of is I'm going onto Google. We need to get away from that as an industry and start leveraging other platforms. The users are demanding that we do that, so we need to start doing that as a team of SEOs or as an industry of SEOs. This all leads nicely into this idea of how we flow through a user journey, and I suppose we touched on it a little bit there with Marissa, looking at our different content and how we create that content. These considerations would come into that discussion that we just had. At Reprise, we use this flow model, and essentially, in my day-to-day, what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to be concerned with experienced content in the media and how that ties into SEO. And I'm looking for ways that I can optimize that content to eliminate the friction, direct customer attention, and attract engagement with the content that I produce. And search everywhere really enables me to do this more effectively than ever before. Google, for the longest time, has been good. Now there's other platforms that are actually saying we're better, and it's all out and integrate those into that model to deliver better results for users, which in turn going to deliver better results for the brand. At the core of what I do as an SEO and what all of that sort of comes back to is the basics of search everywhere, and I'm trying to achieve these three concepts. Clients would like me to say that I'm actually trying to get them to rank number one on Google. I'm trying to get X amount of conversions and make millions. That's the stuff that comes later, that's the results, that's the KPIs, that's the boring shit that I don't care about. This is the stuff that I'm really trying to work on and achieve. So if I can create content that inspires, if I can create content that provides education, and ultimately, if I can do so in a way that entertains, that stuff that they care about is going to come later, the CMO is going to be happy later. This is the stuff that I'll try to achieve on a day-to-day. After this, we can start to look at how search everywhere impacts the user journey. So we've got this idea now of what search everywhere actually is and how I vision that and what I'm sort of talking about. We can look at why it's important and how it's impacting the user journey. That GIF looks terrible on the big screen. If you can't see it over at the back, we've got Dorothy walking down the yellow brick road. And essentially, what I'm trying to get out of here is that has essentially been the search journey historically. It's this idea that people will come on and they'll Google a query and then they'll go down that yellow brick road to conversion and everybody will be happy. They'll all be moving through different content. There'll be CTAs that take me to this page and then that's going to take me to a product page and then eventually I'm going to buy off you. What we now know, what we're starting to realise, is that search and search journeys, user journeys, and the content that we produce to get there is a lot more complicated than that. The destination is obviously that singular point. I want to make brands money. That's what essentially we have to care about, otherwise I'll be out of a job. But the touch points that get us there, which we've discussed ever so slightly there, are really important. And it's about bringing people in from the TikToks of the world, the Reddits, the Discords, and bringing them into this search journey, because essentially we know users are spending more time on TikTok than they are looking down 10 blue links. So let's incorporate that into our search efforts. Again, this might not look great, so I'll put it on LinkedIn. Hint, hint, follow me on LinkedIn. But essentially at the top, we've got this idea of awareness, consideration, conversion, and advocacy, which I guess are the traditional sort of pillars of what we're trying to do with SEO, or that journey that we're trying to take users on. What we can see on the second line is actually there are various touch points on that journey that come from multiple places, not just Google. So Google has its place, you might not be able to see them, but there's several places across this chart that say, okay, that's a search, that's a Google search. But essentially, you guys will know yourself how much time we spend on TikTok, where we'll all of a sudden become aware of a makeup product, we'll become aware of that restaurant in Manchester, or whatever it is that you're interested in. First touch point would be TikTok. Mike, you're planning a wedding, fiance have been spending a lot of time on Pinterest, looking up Pinterest boards. Pinterest boards, big for certain queries, or people become aware of brands through Pinterest boards, and then they take that search. Then we move on to consideration and conversion and advocacy, but as you can see, there's still these multiple touch points. It never just becomes Google anymore. At the bottom, there's a few brands that sort of do this really well and wear their logos, again, look terrible. But we've got Grammarly, HubSpot and Airbnb as an example of brands that really nail their awareness content. And then you've got other brands going across the board. Again, just take a look at some of them. If you notice actually, as a brand, or we've got a client that's struggling with advocacy, we've got a client that's struggling with awareness, they're definitely brands that I'll check out. Okay, so now we know that this is happening. What's actually driving the impact? Again, I've started to touch on it a little bit, but there's some stats that I want to take you through. Nearly 40% of Gen Z users prefer TikTok and Instagram to Google, and that's for certain types of queries. 52% of millennials in the UK bought products because they saw it on TikTok in the last year, and that rises to 60% of Gen Z users. And 67% say TikTok inspired them to shop even when they weren't looking to do so. So looking at TikTok specifically here, can anyone vouch for those sort of stats and actually say, yeah, I did buy something because I saw it on TikTok and I didn't have to do a Google search. I saw it there, I went and bought it. I was looking for trip inspiration and I went and searched that on TikTok as a hashtag, and then eventually went to that restaurant, went to Prague, or did these things in these various locations because of a TikTok search, not because of a Google search. And all of those three statistics, all those three quotes come back to this idea of flow and moving people through a journey. The first one, where we talked about how 40% prefer TikTok and Instagram to Google, that's really down to friction that Google provides. And Google can't help it, they're trying to evolve that. We saw last year where they updated their algorithm and the way that they present SERPs to feature TikTok videos, because Google basically recognises that for certain queries, specifically the visual type of stuff and the stuff where we need stuff really quickly, Google sucks. It can't get us the results we need at the time that we want it. If I want to know how to cook a spaghetti bolognese, I don't want to read a chef's life story, be affiliated, be with tons of affiliate links to buy cookware that I've already got, hence why I'm trying to cook the recipe. And then I finally get the recipe. What I want is to watch a 15-second TikTok video that shows me how to cook that meal. That's why it's really important that we're eliminating the friction in the user experiences. And then the second and third stats, they start to look at how we're attracting engagement and directing attention. It's not just about doing a 15-second TikTok, a 30-second TikTok for the sake of it. We know that that's going to drive engagement. We know that that's going to direct attention to the results that we want based on these stats, these type of quotes that are coming out. And what's really key here as well is this idea that, yes, I'm talking about millennials and Gen Z here, but we know that other audiences are going to follow, because when they start to see this in action and start to see their family, their friends taking these types of actions on TikTok, we know that the audiences are going to move and start doing the same sort of actions. Gen Z led the way in adopting TikTok, other audiences followed. Expect the same to happen here. Okay, so that's all well and good, but why does that mean that my content needs to grow further? Well, users are looking for platform-native solutions across multiple touch points, as I've discussed, and they are now willing to carry out search journeys in a variety of ways. They're not just accepting that they have to Google something. They can't. If somewhere else offers a better solution, they're going to go and look on that platform. A really good example is video game reviews. Back in the day, it would be obviously the TV channels a long time ago, but after that, it was Google reviews, and people would go and they'd look at a written article for a video game release. Now we're seeing platforms like Twitch, we're seeing platforms like YouTube really take that to the next level and provide better solutions than what Google are providing on web-based content. So you guys need to be leveraging that as part of your search strategies and understanding that. This migration of users away from the traditional platforms for search means that we need to be fighting for visibility. And what I mean by this is, if two people in this audience today take on board what I've said and one of them decides actually we're going to incorporate a search everywhere approach and one of them doesn't, the one that incorporates that search everywhere approach is already going to have all visibility on those platforms, which means already in front of their audience a lot quicker than you, the guys that are slower to react and slower to adopt this strategy. And this is important because we've already said that 40% prefer to use TikTok and Instagram for certain searches. If they are already doing that at that sort of rate and you're not there, imagine the visibility that you're going to be losing in 12 months, 24 months when these searches start to move over. And I probably could have done with including one here, but in the last week at Reprise, we've seen in recipe work that I've been doing for one of our clients, there's a downward trend on Google for what recipes are as a search category. Well, that trend is massive on TikTok and it's actually growing year on year on TikTok. And that sort of supports this idea that actually people are saying, Google, you shit. Don't show me recipes up there and get it off TikTok. And again, I sort of got ahead of myself and started to look at why this actually suits brands, but let's just recap or go over it a little bit more. Search everywhere allows for the better utilization of marketing budgets. It gets you more bang for your buck. So essentially, I'm not saying we need to neglect Google. Google is really, really important to what we're doing as SEOs and search strategies. And again, I'd be out of a job if I said, let's just ditch Google. But can we repurpose content like we just discussed, where we're putting content on TikTok, we're putting content on YouTube, and then we're repurposing it for Google or vice versa. It's about how we, again, utilize the various platforms at our disposal to come up with a search everywhere strategy that incorporates everything. And that brings us nicely to this idea of demand capitalization content versus demand generation content. Demand generation content is typically that content that puts your brand at the heart of a conversation you want to have. So if you know your users care about something, it's likely you're going to talk about it as a brand, make them aware of your brand, basically make them give a shit of your brand. Historically, that existed as one type of content, and then there was content that came after that, that was demand capitalization content. And this was about taking that conversation that you just had with users, striking while they're aware of you, striking while the iron's hot, and basically moving on to take a key action or to further content, whatever your individual situation looks like. That does say search everywhere in the middle. Essentially what search everywhere can do is start to take these two circles that were quite separate and bring them a lot closer together and mean that we've got some overlap there. So for examples of demand generation content, we're talking about things like your organic and paid social. We're talking about things like influencer, digital PR, brand, fame, and then away from the digital space, TV, and then video ads back on the digital space. That would be what's generating that demand for your brand. The demand capitalization would be all the good stuff I'm trying to do in SEO, PPC efforts, your content on your website and your content marketing efforts, and then ultimately the UI and UX, CRO, tech SEO of your website. What we can do with search everywhere is essentially take that influence content, give it search properties, give it demand capitalization properties, and mean that you're getting a further ROI on that content as opposed to it just being an influence campaign, just as an example. So that's basically what that says. We can take that content, move it closer to the in-demand capitalisation and vice versa, and essentially get more bang for your buck. By adopting a holistic approach to search, we can make sure that everything's working in a truly collaborative way. So no longer do you have to have your digital PR teams working in isolation to your SEO teams, and then you get 3 months down the line and realise, actually, we're going to build links into that page with that digital PR effort. It means that everyone's sort of working on the same approach, and it means that you can get better results from the work that you do it, which essentially means you're going to get more return on investment again, or better utilisation of your resource. So I realise I've talked about a concept there that is relatively new, and you're probably going, that's all well and good in theory, Ash, but why should I care is an actual example. The one that really started to make me consider this was the idea of ASOS and hashtag ASOS. Essentially, this was a TikTok trend that was looking to capitalise on the growing trend around the hashtag outfit inspo. But whereas obviously anyone can sort of jump on that hashtag and leverage that hashtag, ASOS was trying to essentially put their brand at the heart of it, which goes back to that demand generation content we were just talking about. What they did was they created an augmented reality filter for TikTok, and they created their own sound for TikTok, which basically meant it was really clear that it was their stuff. And they then partnered with influencers and, as we discussed earlier, leveraged user-generated content to basically say to the users of TikTok, okay, go do an SEO strategy for me. So we know that users are migrating search for outfit inspo. You might hate it, but this was good. This outfit came off TikTok, me looking through, going, okay, what should I wear for this? Let me have a look, let me get this, let me get that. And I'm sure that there's women and men in the audience that can attest that they've started to look at TikTok for outfit inspiration, as opposed to going through like quite dull web pages where it's a gallery of looking at one celebrity, on to the next celebrity. It's just shit. TikTok was a much better way of doing it. And that's sort of reflected in the viewer numbers on the platforms. So 120k searches for outfit inspiration as a group on Google since 2020, 11.5 billion views on TikTok. It tells you that migration is happening for especially this type of search. ASOS leverage this within their approach to search, and they read the awards. Essentially, why create content that's going to reach 4k monthly searches, and you have to compete with other people to get in front of audiences when you can create content that is still going to be competing, but it's going to be reaching a lot more, it's going to be reaching the millions. And the results speak for themselves. Let me just come to the start. So we've got 167,000 unique user-generated content videos that leverage the hashtag ASOS hashtag. 1.6 billion views. I would argue that in the same time, all of those listicles on Google, all 99, 101, whatever you want to say, didn't get anywhere close to 1.6 billion views. In terms of individual videos, there was 480,000, and they had a staggering engagement rate of 15.7. So that's all the vanity stuff. That's the stuff that's like, oh, nice, great. That's the stuff that we probably look at and think, oh, I'm really proud of that as a campaign. But for the client, there was a 25% increase in brand awareness and a 10% increase in brand association of the brand with what is a really important 10 for ASOS to be associated with. So you start to get these results that could only be dreamed of when you talk about typical search. So it's a really worthwhile effort, and hopefully this example shows that. So in terms of a takeaway, it increased visibility on the platform, users spend their time upon. So again, users aren't spending hours upon hours on Google the query. They're probably spending hours upon hours. I can attest to getting lost in the TikTok or the YouTube Shorts sort of run of content. And then they'll spend the time on there and be exposed to this content. Exposure to a wider audience than those performing a traditional search. So as we know, when we're doing hashtags on TikTok, we'd probably use the hashtag ASOS, but then we'd partner that with all these other hashtags that are sort of related to that main hashtag we're talking about. And I guess the idea here is that if I've watched out for inspirational videos before, then TikTok's algorithm is naturally going to show me more of that content. I don't have to perform search thousands of times, whereas on TikTok, it's just going to keep showing me the content that I'm engaging with, which again attests to the idea of putting stuff on TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram, whatever the platform is where you want it to spread in those times. Because rather than requiring the user to take an action, you're beating them to a punch and getting your content, your search content in front of them before they search. And for agencies or for the brand directly, it's access to more data and insights to drive future efforts. So yes, it's nice we have GSC, don't get me started on GA4. Well, there's TikTok data there that we can leverage. There's other platforms that we can say, okay, it's done well on this platform as a campaign. Let me take this next platform, look how it's done there. It gives me access to more of that. The key takeaway from this discussion today, I just need people to understand that search is evolving, or want people to understand that search is evolving. Hopefully you understand that users are demanding more than ever from the content, and that the brands that react to this start to pivot using a search everywhere approach are going to see that they can reap the rewards from this. Nice little plug in my socials here, so please feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. I have a little TikTok channel called No Context SEO, which is essentially a rip-off of No Context 10, and feel free to follow me on Twitter as well. And thank you.